You are listening to Kaisers Kastle.
Hey folks, welcome to Kaisers Kastle. Tonight, for your listening pleasure, I happen to have a good friend of mine on, the bloviating Zeppelin himself, BZ. And we're going to talk a little bit about Jim Acosta, the situation with him, the hot takes on that, and also the hot takes we're going to have on Tucker Carlson, and why one of them matters and the other one really doesn't. What's your thoughts on that there, BZ?
Well, welcome and good evening to you, sir. I thought you were going places November 1st.
Yeah, I was going to, but that just got delayed a little bit. Not a big deal.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, I think the bottom line is that it's good to see that you're still here.
Hey, they still can't snuff the rooster, right?
That's right. That's right. God, now that you said that, shoot. Now I'm trying to... Okay, who was the group that did that? There go the rooster.
Yeah. I can't think of their name, but I'm sure somebody in chat will come up with it as soon as they gather.
I bought the album.
Yep.
And I should know that.
I have
son
it
of
too.
A biscuit eater.
Oh, you can say son of a bitch. It's okay.
I should know. I'm disappointed because I don't know this. I should know it.
I've got the DVD, but it would make for really bad air if I just up and walk away for long enough to find it. Hey, Bolt Gun. Hey, who sings They Came to Snuff the Rooster? Do you remember?
I just remembered it. Alice in Chains.
That's it. Alice in Chains, and I can even pictures of it. Yep, you're right. Alice in Chains. So, getting on with that.
It took me a while.
Yeah, me too. We're both getting, well, today I'm 1 year older, so it's my birthday. So everybody here is on my live streaming on my birthday.
So, hey, happy birthday. Happy 39th.
Yeah. I wish. 39 was a good year. I remember that. Yeah.
29 was a better year.
Was it?
Yeah, the Great Depression. Thanks for letting me take a seat on your big orange couch. It says your fireside chat says, pour a coffee and relax.
Yeah.
Well, I've poured a vodka.
Nice.
And plan on relaxing.
Hey, I when you take a seat on my big orange couch, whatever libations you take, whether it be coffee or Coke or, whatever other ones, adult beverages, we're all good with that here. It doesn't matter. Sometimes I'll go on a stream and have a few. You know that.
No, I have never known you to touch any alcohol. It has never even remotely come close to your lips.
No, I try not to. I try to avoid. I have actually tried to avoid it during live streams now, but man, it's happened in the past.
Right, it's the devil's liquid.
It is, and it's not even a positive influence. And
it's the devil's liquid. It's John Barleycorn.
Well, just like what do you call it now? My colloquialism already, and the way I pronounce and enunciate my words is bad enough. Add alcohol, and it gets even worse, right?
I still go back. You say you have a copy, but I'm not sure. I was with Alan this past weekend, Alan Thomas.
Right,
and we went to this ParaQuest Paranormal kind of thing.
Right.
And the one thing we both were just laughing our asses off, and that's why I have no ass sitting in this seat. I'm sitting on a pillow, not in my ass, because I laughed it off this weekend, is that we enjoyed the time, I don't know, it was at least 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago, that we fucking talked for 5 straight hours.
Yes, we used to do the all-nighters.
I still remember that.
We used to do the all-nighters.
Holy good God.
The sun would be coming up, and we'd still be like, well, What time is it over there? Well, it's about 6 a.m. Yep, that was. Shoot, we're going back 6-7 months, aren't we, on that one? That was epic, though.
Oh yeah, epic. Hell yeah, that was incredible. And I know I don't have a copy of it, and Alan said he doesn't have a copy of it. My guess is you might, but I'm not even sure of that.
I don't know whether or not I taped that, honestly. I try to only tape them when the guest knows that we're being taped. If we're just talking, but we solve all the world's problems on our private talks, and you guys just get a glimpse into it when we actually go online. It's just that way. I remember he called in one time, and you were on the show, I think, and we did it. I think that might have been streamed. I may have a copy of that, BZ. If I do, I'll upload it. I don't think I ever uploaded that one. Because that might have been the time you came on. Yeah, I think that's what that was. That was,
good God, it was incredible.
It was epic. That is for real. But getting back to old Tucker, you saw what they did to old Tucker Carlson. Antifa swarms him, goes to his house, saying they know where he lives.
Tucker is one of the few Fox guys that I still DVR.
Right.
I DVR a few. He's one of them. It's an entirely different discussion as to where Fox is going these days. But that having been said, basically what happened is a bunch of Antifa dudes went to Tucker Carlson's house, and he tells people he lives in D.C.
Yeah.
I think Northwest.
Yeah.
And he's got a wife. He's got 3 kids. So he is invested in D.C., and he broadcasts out of D.C., not New York.
Right.
Where, most of the Fox people broadcast out of New York, but he's in D.C. because he lives there. So about 20 of these Antifa fucksticks decide that they're going to gather in front of his house. I think it was last night, as a matter of fact. Some dude had a bullhorn.
Yep.
I've read some articles. I don't know how it is that they happen to get his address. But the other thing that I do know is in the process of doing that, they had a big placard on his lawn with the address of the house, and they took those photographs, put them on social media so that they have a description of the house, the house itself, what it looks like, and the physical address in D.C. It is absolutely beyond reprehensible to do this to any individual. Now, if you have a gripe with people, you keep it professional, and you have a bit of common decency, and you don't take it to people's homes. Kaiser, for fuck's sake, go back to one of the things about the mafia and Omerta was you leave the families out of it.
That's right.
You screw with a family, and then it crosses a line, and all gloves are off. And to this point, there haven't been real consequences for doing these kinds of things. I said it before. Go ahead, Kaiser.
Oh, I was just saying they've really... there is a right to demonstrate, but you do it in a park across the street or something like that. You don't go up to the house. I mean, I heard on one of the shows that I heard on, they were saying that they actually cracked his thick wooden door because they were trying to push into his damn house. And
they did that.
Yeah, that's borderline terrorism. And if it is an outright terroristic act. Because you think about this, BZ, you being a former cop like I was, you may have a gripe with somebody, and I think the optics and everything of people just showing up at somebody having a dinner with their wife or something is shitty. But with the computer age the way it is, the docs the way that runs, it's to be expected, and people no longer have any morals, ethics, or any kind of qualms about just acting a fool. And they think it gets them somewhere, but in all honesty, they just look like shit. That's my 2 cents on it. What's your thoughts?
From what I understand, luckily, his 3 kids were not home at the time, but his wife was, and he was away. Today, he's out on vacation. This was a pre-planned vacation. But he called in to Tucker Carlson, and I happened to hear it tonight before I went to the studio to do my show. And Tucker said his wife is not nearly as political as he is, and she is mostly unaware of a lot of the stuff that he talks about. And her thought was, when this occurred, that this is a home invasion. So she calls 911 to try to get some cops over there. We'll stop for a second. Let's back up. Let's back up the old car wash here. What if this is someone, and it's not in D.C., because, you know, even though Heller versus D.C. won on Heller at this point, let's put it in an area that's much more, let's say, firearms friendly. Let's put it in Iowa or Indiana, or let's put it in Idaho, or even let's put it in BZ's residence. You got a bunch of people that are knocking on BZ's residence and are trying to tumultuously and violently, as far as I'm concerned, forcibly enter my house. You're going to meet the wrong end of Mr. Shotgun, because the moment that you burst my door in, don't think that I'm not prepared. You and I talked about this just before the show.
Yep.
You keep doing things like this, and someone's going to get killed. And I said this to you then privately, and I'll say it to you now. And rightly so. Now, people are going to take me to task for that, but you can't keep doing things like this and not anticipate that people are going to have a very human emotion. That's just at Tucker Carlson's house. Now let's say that for whatever reason, you decide out on the street that you're going to confront, or in a restaurant, or in some kind of a public venue, you're going to confront somebody that may be wearing a MAGA hat or is wearing a T-shirt you don't like, and you're a leftist, and you have no idea what just occurred in that person's life in the past day, the past hour, the past week, the past month. You could be confronting somebody who just had his wife killed in an accident 2 hours before. You could be confronting somebody that just lost their job 2 days ago. You could be confronting somebody who just had their mother or their father pass away from cancer, or their brother, their sister. And we're all human, and we all run many times on emotions. And there's going to be somewhere, sometime, by someone, a button pushed by Antifa or somebody on the left to the point where they're going to get a very human, violent reaction. Whether it's right or whether it's wrong at this point is almost immaterial, because they have pushed to the point where they're going to get a reaction that they don't like. Now, on the left, it's going to be, oh my God, you shouldn't have done this. But you can't keep pushing human beings in this fashion and not expect sooner or later there to be a consequence to your actions. And to this point, people on the right, the consequence has been they've left a restaurant, they've got up, they've left, they've gotten into a car, they've walked away, they've driven away, or in some riot situations, sometimes Antifa people get cold-cocked, etc. Bad things are coming. I'm afraid that bad things are coming. And somebody's going to get seriously hurt of this, or killed.
Oh, yeah, that's a fait accompli, sadly. Bolt Gun said double up buck fixes door kickers. He's exactly right. Yeah, keep it live in the chat,
hell
folks.
Yeah.
This is going to be a fun spree. Me and BZ going to be on for about an hour. Anyways, what I'm saying is, look, what you're saying is very prescient, and I'll tell you why. I'm capable of having Discord with anybody at any time, a nice public Discord or private, it matters not, and keeping it civil. But since we have allowed, and we have as a culture have allowed that thin veil of civility to start getting pushed. Now remember how thin it is. A breath can actually destroy it. And with everything that's gone on with the doxing, everything that's gone on with deplatforming, all these things, you're squashing people's voices. Well, once that happens, bad things happen to good people. And you're right. The left would bitch, piss, moan, and whinge on it. But the fact remains, they brought it on themselves. And it's sad in a whole lot of ways, brother. If we can bring back some civility, which I don't know if we've crossed that final frontier yet. And I think we have in some aspects, but America is really resilient, so I have to trust that America can stop it before it, goes to fang and claw, because sometimes the monster does come out, and bad things happen, like I said, to good people, and that kind of stuff happens, brother, and it's sad, but I think that you're right. Eventually, something like that may happen.
I'm looking at an article from CBS News. It says a protest outside the Washington, D.C. home, Fox News host Tucker Carlson, has led to a criminal investigation from police. Stop. Beautiful. Fabulous. I like the way this is going already.
Yep.
Twitter has suspended the anti-fascist group that promoted the protest and tweeted Carlson's address. Stop. I'm astounded, frankly, that Twitter suspended that group. The group is called... Don't
even give them any airtime. I don't... It's just like... It's just like these shooters.
I don't even see it in here.
It's just like these shooters and everybody else. I don't know why the media has done this, because all that does is perpetuate the people that they can't be famous, so I guess they'll go and be infamous. And, I think that's something that the press has an obligation to who, what, when, where, why, and how one time. But see, the media, Trump has picked a key, and I'm pulling the entire media in, where Tucker Carlson has a balanced opinion show where he brings on leftists and stuff. He even interviewed the guy that led that like a year ago.
See, that's the point. That's the point.
But
that I have to admit occasionally irritates me. Is he continuously allows people on the left to have a voice on his show, where so many other people, not just at Fox News, but almost any other show, they primarily do not do that. So if you want to talk about a show that provides a certain amount of equanimity to a ton of people, it's the Tucker Carlson show. So what the cops arrive, they find all sorts of like politically charged signs. They're left on his cars. There's a sign on the front door, and there's an anarchy symbol spray painted on his driveway. So the cops finally are deciding that they're gonna investigate this as a suspected hate crime.
The funny thing about it is, like, Antifa and all these little anti-racist whatever, and think about it, Tucker Carlson, yeah, he's a real Nazi, he's a real racist. I don't think so. And just like most Americans aren't. But see, the media has foisted that upon everybody. Gab's a Nazi site. No, Gab's not. Just because you have an idiot make a post. How many times has somebody publicly broadcasted something on Facebook of an actual homicide? Or remember the retarded kid they tortured the one time? I mean, and
I remember any number of incidents that were posted live on Facebook
and YouTube, and that's the whole thing. So all of them should be taken down. Then let's just deplatform the entire internet. Why even have an internet at this point if it's going to be that stupid? But see, then the left, these people who did this will have free legal service, guaranteed. The lefties have their free everybody will be paying for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if somebody did it on
Hell
the right, it's on their dime. But if you're left with the approved political opinions, then you're good to go. And that's another problem. But, so, yeah, it's good they're doing an investigation. But in all honesty, for it to have even gotten to that point is abso-fucking-lutely ridiculous. And it boggles. It's hard when Kaiser can say it's boggling to his mind. Just the duplicity of the press, where you have an event like this, and that's a serious event. That really matters, right? And then a non-event, like Jim Acosta getting his press credentials pulled. CNN didn't lose their press credentials. It was a person, because Acosta's been a prick. He yelled out to Kim Jong-un Kim Jong-un. He yelled out to him like Kim Jong-un speaks English. Hey, what about the guy from Ohio who got killed over there? Brings up his name. I can't even remember his name now. It had come to me, maybe. If not, it doesn't really matter. But the kid gets killed, but the kid did something stupid over there. He yells at it when Trump's trying to take warfare off the table in the Korean Peninsula. And they're pulling up mines now. So there is things happening that's positive on both sides on the peninsula. But what's important to him is some kid getting tortured. So he yells it out for no reason. He's an attention-seeking whore, where Tucker Carlson, as far as I know, besides going on different programs in his own program, leads a pretty quiet life. And if somebody's famous or in the media, then if they lead a quiet life, I have no problem. Do you see right-wingers going over to Acosta's house and trying to bust through his door? No. And then them saying, notice the left was memeing that all of Trump's rhetoric is making reporters less safe and we fear for our lives. No, there's no reason to even think that, in my opinion. But you have a legitimate threat now on Tucker Carlson, and that's all right. That's all right. And Acosta having his press credentials pulled, he's a little prick attention whore. I'm glad it happened to him, in all honesty. And he'll get his own little program on CNN CNN has, 6 viewers every night? They're inconsequential. And in my opinion at this time. So get your thoughts on that dichotomy, that point of our conversation.
CNN has fewer viewers than this new network on Dish, which is the Tibetan bell ringing channel. CNN has fewer viewers than that. MSNBC, when it runs Bar Rescue, has more viewers than CNN. I mean, CNN, Don Lemon rails against white people and says that white people are terrorists, they're evil, every white male is racist. Well, let's be honest. Don Lemon is a raving homosexual, and I don't give a fuck who he screws, whose sphincter he invades. Right. Except that his current boyfriend is a white male.
Yeah.
So
his wife.
All white males are evil except the white male whose sphincter he's invading.
And
okay, all right.
And you know what you wonder is that a way for him to show black supremacy by invading a white anus? I don't know. I'm making a joke, but in all honesty, it's totally off the chart stupid. And Lemon is just he is a flat ass racist, just like Obama was, and Michael, his wife,
and Eric Holder.
Eric Holder is a flat ass racist, and they were all talking about the votes being tampered with in Georgia and this, that, and the other. And it's like, yeah, there's always vote tampering done by the Democrats. I'll guarantee you every time one of these electronic machines gets fired up, the Democrats have already thrown 1,000 votes in each one of them.
Well, you want to know the dirty little secret, the dirty little lie? Under Obama's administration, let's go back to when Mike Pence was governor of Indiana. Does anyone realize or remember the time that Homeland Security under Obama decided that they were going to go into the Indiana voting system and rifle around in that system?
Yep.
Anybody remember when Obama decided that he was going to throw money, American taxpayer money belonging to you and me, against Netanyahu and throw money against Netanyahu's opponent? You want to talk about election fixing? Let's go back to Barack Hussein Obama, for example.
Oh, yeah. Remember Acorn. And remember the Black Panthers standing out with billy clubs in Philadelphia, under the first election cycle. And nobody went after them under Holder's Justice Department. See, when everybody talks about the deep state, they have no clue what the deep state actually is. It's just the SES people, Special Executive Service. And that's people like the lawyer and his paramour who were in charge of the Russia investigation at one time. I can't even remember their names, and I don't really want to give their names out on my show, but everybody knows who I'm talking about. And those two idiots plot and plan on a way to fuck over the election for Trump after he's already been duly elected by the people. And so this is not something that's new at all.
God, there's so many things that are percolating around in my brain right now. Of course, I went to the kitchen and decided that it was time for some more vodka.
Hey, did you get some filthy olives?
No, I don't put olives in vodka. I try to remain as pristine as possible.
Keep it nice and neat.
Yeah. Here's an interesting point, going back to Tucker Carlson. And you were talking about, I'm a little bit more pessimistic than you are, but there is something that I found placed into a little bit more positive category. Stephen Colbert of, I think it's Late Show or Night Show or something like that. Basically what he said is he ended up slamming the people, whatever group they belonged to, that showed up at Tucker Carlson's house last night. He said they displayed monstrous cowardice that should not be tolerated.
Not in a civil society.
I found that rather astounding coming out of this guy's mouth.
And he's been one of the leaders of fomenting leftist hate.
But now I think he's wondering, as many people are, all it takes is one guy with a bad brain at the time to find out where Colbert lives and do the exact same thing, or worse.
Exactly. And you know what's funny? You look at most of the people that's done that, well, everybody so far, in my opinion, because socialism is still communist, it's still left. And that's what's always funny when they say National Socialism. It's like you're still leaning left. And the purity spiral goes deep on both sides of the aisle. And eventually that purity spiral will wrap you up too. And nobody's safe. When you start going to the extremes, then the extreme's going to try to take over. And look, now you got Ocasio-Cortez got elected into Congress. You think that they're going to, this new group of Democrats, these socialists, these, whatever they call themselves, social democrats or whatever the hell they call themselves, a new wing of the Democrat Party. Do you think they're actually going to vote to get some old hag like Pelosi in to be speaker? Oh, we're about to see a blood sport like America's never seen within one party. And that'll be the Democrats. And the only reason she'll get in is Trump will probably tell the Republicans, hey, vote for her. I mean, that's my opinion.
He already did. He already said he endorses Pelosi.
Yep.
That's almost, I won't quite go there, but that's almost a stroke of genius.
No, it's completely 4D chess, because what nobody realized, I saw it, the House means nothing. It means money. That's it. But with Ruth Bader taking her tumble today, breaking a couple ribs, you know, she's old. She's 80-some years old. And
85.
Yeah, and she's going to go. And they're just hoping she sticks around for another year, because then they'll use the old Obama rule against him. And Trump will probably say, yeah, but Trump's a lock for 2020. I can't see a way he doesn't run the table unless he really stomps on his dick hard. But right now, he's making all the right moves, and he's been very conciliatory. And that's why Acosta's grandstanding, look at me shit that he just pulled. Well, he's been pulling it for quite a while, but this was just over the top. And all the lefties were saying, well, she was forcibly grabbing his mic. No, you can tell he's pushing on her arm to get her like, hey, it wasn't assault by any means. He was just trying to keep that mic. Because, you know, with today, the important thing, getting on the mic, my brother, right? We're on the mic right now. But see,
that mic doesn't belong to him.
That's right.
It's not his to take. It's not his to keep. It belongs to the White House, which belongs to the people. As I said earlier today in my show, there were at least 50 to 60 reporters that were in that small room who each wanted to just have one question with the president. But no, it was all about Jim Acosta. And, you know, let me ask you this. Here's what I consider to be a fairly important question, because it supersedes Jim Acosta in a way.
Right.
You could do one of two things. You can either suspend his White House credentials temporarily, as was done, or you could ignore him and not field him any questions. So the question to you then, Kaiser, is, did Trump act appropriately, or the White House act appropriately, or the Oval Office act appropriately by temporarily suspending Jim Acosta's press pass and possibly by making him a martyr? Or should they simply in the future, Trump specifically, or even Sarah Huckabee Sanders, should, when he enters the room, should they simply ignore him?
Well, see, Trump and her were both doing that. I mean, that's the reason why he's gotten so skilled at just yelling shit out. Arbitrary shit. And it's always arbitrary and useless. Nobody cares about what Acosta says. I know I don't. But the thing about it, period, point blank, is I'm glad he got his personal press pass suspended. And I don't think he's a martyr to anybody but the left. Everybody else who's a clear thinker, and even some on the left, have said he's over. I know Tim Pool even said, and he's a lefty for sure, on his program, he said that Acosta crossed the line. And he's been doing it for quite a while, and I happen to agree. There's certain lefties like Tim Pool, Dave Rubin, even the Weinstein brothers. I mean, there's people I can listen to on the left. And I find them to be reasonable characters. And it's just the tenor and the conversation in our country has so shifted heavy right, heavy left, that you have to rein it back in. You have to pull it back in somehow. And he definitely needed to be gone because they were ignoring him. And it didn't matter. He'd still yell shit out and then act all put upon. So he's going to act put upon no matter what they do, because he's a wenching little bitch that uses a tampon. And I have no sympathy for him, but I do have sympathy for Tucker Carlson, because Tucker Carlson wasn't asking for people to show up at his house. Those weren't actors. Those were just idiots.
Well, let's back up the car wash for a second and postulate this. Let's reverse things. How do you think the American media maggots would treat the situation should people on the right appear and find out where Jim Acosta lives, and I'm guessing he's a family man. I'm guessing he's married. I'm guessing he has some kids. I don't know if he lives in D.C. or New York. It's immaterial. But what if a bunch of people on the right, say 20 people on the right, showed up on his house, his doorstep, with a bullhorn and did the exact same thing and tried to violently attempt to gain access, or at least damage his front door to the point where his wife calls 911 thinking it might be a home invasion? How would the rest of the media treat that as opposed to how they treated Tucker Carlson? It would be a crisis. It would be crisis mode. That's exactly what would happen. And you wouldn't hear the end of it for at least the next week, possibly the next month.
Oh,
That's my major objection.
You're exactly right. I mean, look at the fake bombs, which every EOD tech expert that they had on any show said they were non-workable. Those get sent in. Remember when Obama, people forget, they have short-term memory loss. I know I do sometimes, but not on any important shit. When Obama kicked out Fox from the press corps. And nobody had a beef about that. He wasn't martyred on the right. Look, there was a...
And Obama kicked all of the press corps out of major developments inside his own administration. The press was not happy, but that's conveniently and purposely forgotten now.
Oh, yeah, of course. And see, he could do no wrong because he was, anointed by God. But no, my purpose on that statement was basically the right. There was a meme going around that it said the day after the election, right-wingers protest. And it shows a cityscape with people just walking around the sidewalk. There's no protest signs or anything. It was just a play on the difference between the day after Trump got elected. You remember what I'm saying?
Correct.
And so
yep, I saw it.
That meme is epic. And it should be plastered. And the difference for the left, they should actually get pretty introspective. Because, well, I don't know if they will. And, even the lefties are like... They've been hijacked in 1968. During that convention was when it started, and it's been a long march. That's what Mao called for. On the institutions, government, academia, banking, everything. And this long march is still going on. Boltgun said something I want to pass on to you, brother, in chat. Well, BZ, we've got a lot of well-orchestrated division, which is true. It's well-orchestrated. And I've told that to everybody I know. This is all, none of this is all AstroTurf. None of it's been natural born. It's not grassroots. Kind of mirroring the times before the first Civil War. And Bolt Guns nailed it, in my opinion.
Well, that's why he's named Bolt Gun. Nailing it.
There you go. He can hit a fly's wings from 500 yards with his AR. That was just me inserting joke. I guess no laughter, so it fell flat.
No, it's appropriate.
Yeah,
it's apropos.
Yep. But no, man. To me, this just blows my mind. I love how people don't get the beauty of when we talk. It's free flow. None of this. We may have talked about a few subjects, but in all honesty, what we're talking about now is brand new compared to what we were talking about earlier. So we go off script. There is no script here. BZ, you got a script in front of
you? Wait a minute. Hang on for a second while I put my script away. Give me a second. Okay, I put my script away. Okay, did you hear that? I put my script away.
I heard it. Oh, that's great. Oh, yeah, man. But yeah, this is just normal talk. You think this is fun? Think this is just for the show? We this is really the only thing that would be more epic is if Alan jumped in too, because that's the hoot when all three of us are together. Oh, and then add beer and alcohol. Oh, throw some filthy olives on it. Bolt Gun said, "Laugh out loud. That is funny. I can't shoot like that." Oh, buddy.
Sure he can. If he says it, I believe it.
The chat is hitting tonight. I'm loving it, man. You know, I have a small following, but I like it because everybody's like family. They come on, they say their words, and then we put it out there. And see, this is just adding you guys to the conversation. That's what this is supposed to be, right? And even if somebody disagreed with us, I would read their stuff. Or if they said something out of hand. I don't want a large stream because I was on Styx's show the night of the election tallying, and two funny things happened, but one of them was he had 27,000 people on his live stream, and you couldn't even...
Holy crap.
You couldn't keep up with the damn texting coming in through the chat. Because it's just going...
Yeah. I've seen a chat room. I've seen a chat room that was so alive that you can't follow it. It runs so fast that your comment is absolutely subsumed with the next 10 comments in the next second.
Yeah, oh yeah. And that's the whole thing. But everybody was saying troll raid on TYT, the Young Turks. And all of a sudden I went over there. I just opened another window. I go over there, and it's nothing but spoons and spoon clank being written. And so, of course, I get in. Dude, that brought me back to the days of the election in 2015, 2016, prior to, where we just go to a site and basically crash there. And even the Young Turks Chink or Sink or whatever the hell he calls himself, had to say, why are all these spoons coming in? It's because everybody from that chat went to his chat to just take over his chat. Nobody in the Young Turks normal chat could get in because spoons. It was great, dude.
Let me throw this. I since you're kind of going stream of consciousness tonight, and I broached this in my show earlier. Let me ask you, because I didn't really have time to discuss this in any kind of length. People are saying that it was suggested that Jeff Sessions leave, and I think this has been arranged prior. And I have thoughts, but my first inclination is, what are your thoughts about Jeff Sessions leaving the AG?
Well, I mean, that was forecasted well before this. Probably 6 months ago, Trump, they'd be asking him, are you going to keep Jeff Sessions? Are you going to keep Jeff Sessions? And Trump was like, yeah, he has to do better. You know, he's saying that. He's being very open and honest. And at some point, Sessions was going to go because he wasn't... The problem is, when he gave up oversight on that, which he could have taken back, he could have said, I'm going to get involved. I need to see what's going on with this, right? I'm revoking my recusal. He could have very well done that, but he didn't. And it's because I like Sessions. Nobody will talk smack about Sessions to me. I actually think the man's a good man. But the problem is, it's problematic, don't you know? He is a deep stater, and he has too many friends within the deep state because he's a creature of the swamp, and Trump knew this, and it was time to say politely, you're fired. And that's my 2 cents on it.
My thought was this. I think Jeff Sessions knew exactly what he was going to do before Trump decided to appoint him as AG. He knew that he was going to insist upon recusing himself. I believe that he inherently realized that before he went all in for the appointment. So what the fuck is the point of being an AG or submitting or throwing your name in the hat when you've already prior decided that you're going to recuse yourself in terms of one of the most if not the most important issue before the entire Department of Justice in the early portion of the Trump presidency. Are you fucking kidding me? You're going to do that and not tell the president that you're going to support, as far as anyone can tell? You keep this a secret because why? That makes no sense to me. You say Sessions is a great guy. Okay, I'm sure he doesn't shoot kittens in the head, and he doesn't drown dogs when he finds them. I'm sure he contributes or he tithes to whatever church he belongs to. But you and I both know, having been in law enforcement and the military, that Jeff Sessions is not a leader.
You're right.
He's an apple-cheeked 5'2", uninspiring piece of crap that no one would follow into a trench. The first moment that I heard his voice and I saw his mannerisms, I thought, this guy is like, he belongs on PBS. He doesn't belong in a position of power.
Yeah,
he should be like the butt buddy of Fred Rogers. He should wear a sweater and be, hi, I'm Jeff. I'm Jeff Sessions. That's not going to inspire people. He was a one-trick pony. His one trick, immigration. The AG is so far beyond that, it's not funny. So, no, I don't have any sympathy whatsoever for Sessions. He can go take the first he can take the first off-ramp to fuck me over town, as far as I'm concerned.
I agree with everything you said by sentiment, and when I said he's a great guy, he is. He's a decent man, okay?
I'm sure let me
clarify. He supported Trump from the beginning, going into the election. Yes. He was one of the few that did it, and Trump remembers, right?
Yes.
Just like I would remember,
Completely agreed.
And I think it was a political move for Trump to bring him in to his thing. Did I think he was the one I would put in AG? No. And he was as inspiring as the McNeil-Lehrer report. I agree with you on that, too. And the youngsters won't know that are on my channel. They won't know what McNeil-Lehrer report is. Just look it up on YouTube and you'll see it. It's about as entertaining as watching grapes ripen. But the whole point...
I got to hand it to you. That was a nice simile. That was a great simile.
Thank you, brother. But the point being is, now, did you see the Chad that he's brought in to be the temporary AG? And that guy's no nonsense. He's not going to put up with shit. And Trump, I think now, this is his second term. Or, second phase of his first term. And this is the time where he's going to make moves. And he's going to make bold moves. And I believe the next AG, I hope he keeps this guy. If this guy shows the mettle that I know he's capable of, this guy will uproot the deep state out of the DOJ and the FBI. With Ivy, he will do that with vigor and zest to get rid of it. And if nothing else, Trump's legacy, let's say he's a one-termer, which I don't believe is a fact. I don't think that's even on the table at this point. But let's say he's a one-termer.
No.
With the people he's bringing in, one thing will be very clear. The swamp will be a lot more drained. Because I think Trump now knows the Department of State, Department of Justice, CIA, they're all so fucking corrupted. They've got to be upended from the top. Because that's... And then you got to look at the people who are the hirees. Because of what the mandate's always been. You have to have a college education to get into federal law enforcement. Military's a plus, but they're not just hiring people coming out of the military anymore, which used to be the norm. That way you have people that have been overseas, that have done something, even corporate bankers that were overseas guys, right? They had some practical experience doing their jobs. Well, now somebody's got a doctorate or a master's. Well, they get jumped ahead of everybody. Sometimes you don't need a doctorate or a master's person to go be your ambassador. You need somebody who knows that area. You need somebody who knows it well enough to be practical. And there's a saying with where I teach people to shoot, we make the tactical practical. And that's just our saying, our phrase line. And that's kind of the same way. Have people who have practical, hands-on experience, OJT, on-the-job training, and bring them in, and you're going to be much more efficient and effective than if you're just fucking the dog doing whatever you're doing with some doctorate or master's degree idiot that's never been there. I know in college, one of my profs was Middle East expert and stuff, and I go up to him, I said, so where'd you stay when you were in the Middle East? Or what's your experience there? And he goes, well, hopefully one day I'll get to go see Palestine. And I'm like, so you've never been over there? I've lived in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Iraq. At that time, I was a young guy. You know, I didn't have all the experience I have. And I said, I think I know more about it than you do. And you're trying to tell me I'm wrong on my paper or whatever. And I basically threw it back in his fucking face. Anyways, I'll let you go, man. I was rambling, and that's never good radio.
Here's all I needed to know about Whitaker, who was the interim AG. Thank God over Rosenstein. The moment that the left decided to say he must immediately recuse himself, that's when I knew they had the right guy in there.
Yep.
That's called a clue.
Yep.
And previously, I don't know a thing about him. I haven't heard a thing about him.
Yeah, no.
So I really don't know anything about it. This dude's CV. I honestly do not.
He's a pit bull. He's an attorney, of course. I think if you look back on his history now that we brought him up, you're going to see what he's about. I've heard from several news sources I go to. One of them is FTN, Fascination. Folks, I go from the extreme left to the extreme right. I want to know everything. Everything's always open source intel with me, because that's the only way you get the pulse of a fucking nation. You can't get the nation's pulse by just looking at one thing. You have to look at everything. All aspects, everything, and be able to connect those circles, those nodes, those pods. And then you're going to find the truth always lies in the middle. It's never on one side or the other. There's always middle ground. It may shift. The good thing is the Overton window was allowed to be shifted right just enough and just far enough that now you're even seeing the Democrats that weren't leftist, SJWs, starting to move our way. Otherwise, the governorships, we picked up a shitload of governorships. And the Senate?
Yeah, we did.
We built the Senate harder, faster, stronger. We no longer are going to need, for appointments, any Democrats because of squishy Republicans. When all the neocons made their exit, let's call it Nexit. From now on, it's Nexit, the neocon exit. When they did that and all wanted to retire en masse, trying to fuck Trump, you just saw what happened. The voters responded en masse and said, cool, make your Nexit. We're going to bring in somebody better. And they did. They brought in people everybody Trump stooped for on the stoop. We got Mike DeWine. Cordray's an outright communist here in Ohio. And same with his, I can't remember what they call it, Secretary of State who ran with him. I can't think of the dude's name. But DeWine, and he was our, I can't remember what he was. I think he was Secretary of State under Kasich, who was an abortion. He's Kasich. If you want to see
John Kasich, oh my God!
If you want to see the typical spongy neocon, it's John Kasich. God bless him. I mean, you know, the good Lord, you can only work with what the good Lord gives you. And John Kasich didn't have much to work with. And he never really rose above, in my opinion. And he was a bag of shit on a lot of stuff. He was, but Ohio tends to do that. Now, Mike DeWine comes from the Attorney General's office here in Ohio. And he's a good man. And he's small in stature, but he's a damn pit bull. You know, he's the kind that once he's got you in his scent, his fucking teeth are going to clamp down on that ass. And he's not letting go. And that's the kind of people that we need in politics on the right side. You know, that's just my opinion. But, there you go. Now, I don't know what Bolt Gun's talking about. He looked like Gumby in a $10,000 suit. I don't know who you're talking about, because we were talking about so many people, brother. Sorry about that. Bolt Gun said that. But yeah, man, like I said, that's my opinion. Now I'm going to let you talk about yours, because I'm going to run real quick over to the fridge, and I'll be right back. Oh, Kasich. Okay, got it. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
You mentioned the Overton window, and I can't let that go. I got to comment on that. For the people that don't know what the Overton window is, it's kind of like mid-range. The Overton window is a kind of like a range of policies that are considered like politically acceptable in whatever current state of climate of public opinion exists at the time. So the Overton window is like the mean, the middle mean. And the Overton window is an area where politicians can go or recommend something without being considered like too extreme or too over the top or too small, too little. And the Overton window ranges from unthinkable on both ends. From like, let me see.
Right,
if I get
it
this.
slides down.
I'm trying to remember this from my politics. It ranges from like unthinkable to like radical to acceptable to like sensible to popular, and it's the mean of it all. So it's what is acceptable, and it's almost like political pablum in whatever political extreme you may have at that time. God, I screwed up the Overton window. I just slaughtered that.
Well,
do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I like to think about a rectangle, a long rectangle. And the Overton window, let's say the ideal spot for it is dead center, okay? And that is exactly, right. You do have the parameters, right, from unacceptable to, well, you've just gone too fucking far, okay? And on both sides, okay? Now, the Overton window moves down that, the window's now just like a normal window. It's perfectly square, but it moves down that rectangle, okay? And it slides from side to side. So if they push the Overton window too far left, which would be socialist, or communist is actually the farthest left, all the way over to anarchy on the right, which is democracy. Democracy is nothing more than anarchy, mob rule. If they pushed it left, which Obama almost pushed us into communism, honestly. He's a Maoist. Nobody can dispute that. And Trump had to push it to the right, but with different things that he did. And the people pushed it even further right. But now it's come back to equilibrium. I think we found center. And so we're there almost. You see what I'm saying? We're almost there. We still got a lot of lefty. But we've moved it far enough right to where it's manageable. And I guess that's the only way I could say it. It's manageable at this point, but not good.
Okay, in response, I have to say this. When did the Democrat Party become the Democratic Party? And the verbs mean something. Let me back up. In a democratic society, you could have this. You could have 9 people on a desert island. And let's say 5 of those people are males and 4 are females. And all 5 males say, you know what? I think rape of women is fine. And in a democrat society, in a democratic society, the majority rules. So all 5 men voting that way, well, you're going to have to just assume that the raping of women is okay because they voted for it and they have the majority.
Right.
And the founding fathers were sufficiently smart to realize that we almost need a constant form of chaos in our politics and a constant amount of division in order to ensure that stupidity doesn't reign supreme.
Right.
That, in my opinion, was the brilliance of the founding fathers.
You're exactly
and the
right.
stupidity of people on the left today.
No, you're exactly right. Benjamin Franklin, what did he say to that woman when she said, Mr. Franklin, what form of government have you given us? I'll let you finish that out, BZ, because I know you know it.
A republic, if we can keep it.
That's exactly right. And that's the problem, if you can keep it. Throughout history, from the time of Greece, Rome, all of it.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Yeah.
Thank you ever so much for assuming that I knew how to answer that question.
Why wouldn't you?
Thank you.
It's common sense.
No. Thank you. From me to you, thank you.
Cool, brother. I know you have the answers to it because your education's like mine. We're both on that same level, you know. That's why I think me, you, and Alan, we solve all the world's problems in a couple 5 hours.
Hell, we did. We sure did everything. Period. Everything.
And as folks know on my stream, nobody has to agree with me, and I don't have to agree with anybody, but you will always find us not being disagreeable. And that's the thing I love about it. But we agree on a whole lot. And there may be fine-tuned differences, but that's okay. That happens. So you just can't worry about that. And that's something I think we've lost the tenor of conversation in the nation at this point with that kind of bullshit. And so that's kind of unnerving. And but anyways, yeah, no, you're right. As we were saying, republics are doomed to failure. It's going to happen. And they don't fail from the outside, folks. They fell from the inside. And
bingo.
Yeah.
And that's why you and I, this is an important point that you've emphasized before, and I want to emphasize now since it's in my brain. When you and I took our oath, we swore to defend this nation against whom? Enemies. Foreign and
domestic.
Yes, because that's how republics and empires crumble.
Yep, and that's why that phraseology is in the oath that every federal, state, and local government employee has to take. And it's not... Look, there is no... Like oath keepers, right? Once you take an oath, hopefully even your marriage oath, that's for life. And it should be. It should be a sacred
I am
oath.
an oath keeper.
Yeah. I know you are. Silverback and all of that.
I mean, I paid the money. I have the card to prove I'm an oath keeper.
Yep. I'm just saying in terms of just terminology also. Oath keeper means something. and it means that you keep your oath and you keep your word. And that's why you see a lot on my postings when I post stuff, the House of Shuff stands. Because we will stand.
And here's why I respect you. Because you and I have commonality, and that is we are both sheepdogs, we are both oath keepers, and we are both silverbacks. And what I mean by silverbacks is we are the senior individuals in an organization with whom others consort and consult in order to discover our seniority and our illumination, and they consult us because we've seen so much.
Truer words. Look, I've broken this down, brother. Now, this is good. You guys are going to get an intimate conversation now between me and BZ. The reason why I think that's such true words is because I came into the military, and this is the problem with the military. I was talking to a first sergeant who was getting ready to retire. No, I'm sorry, he was sergeant major. I just lied to you. Anyways, I was talking to him, and he was talking about NCO time and how the Army's basically gutted that out of the system now. And just because instead of shortening it, which is what it should have happened, they just did away with it. And during my time of service, you had two things that were major. You had mentoring of a mentee. And it's totally different. I got into conversations with the Army guys over in Kandahar about this, and they'd say, well, we're training and this, that, and the other, and that's mentoring. I'm like, no, you don't get what mentoring is. Do you have one person that's one rank under you that you teach how to do your job? And he's like, no, I teach everybody how to do it. No, you don't. You can't. You can't instill your knowledge as much as you want to in mass. It has to be a one-on-one thing. You can have multiple mentees, but you have to give them equal time. And that's hard to do. You can't diffuse your time and your knowledge because both people are not going to rise at the same time. I've never held more than one, maybe two mentees at a time. And you can't cross-sex it because that's never a good idea. I was taught that very early. A male should never mentor a female and vice versa because the experience is not just what's between your legs. It's an emotional thing. It's a mental thing. And this is important, and it's something that our military, I think, has shoved to the side as non-consequential when it's very consequential.
The last minute and a half have been absolutely brilliant. And you have spoken the truth. It is absolutely correct.
I know, brother.
And you can't run an efficient paramilitary or military organization without realizing exactly that. You and I both know.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, in the military, who runs the military? Is it the SecDef or is it the NCOs? You tell me.
It's the NCO online, and there's also, I used to tell everybody, because it breaks down so easily, the SES, that's the Special Executive Service, okay? And yeah, you're right, there's a spiritual learning that has to take place. Bolt Gun actually pushed that right in there, and thank you for that. I stand corrected because I didn't say it, but I do know that that's a fact too, but that's a longer dissertation, brother. I was trying to keep it short. The other thing that I'll say on what we were talking about. Shit, I just lost track of what I just said.
I talked to you about NCOs.
Oh, yeah. NCOs. The SES. I can boil it down this way. Everybody who was in the Army, and I was first, they used to call it the E4 Mafia. And that meant the guys that can get stuff done that are low ranking, they're E4s. But if you need something done, they'll be like, okay, We'll get that done. We'll do the paperwork later, right? You need ammo? Cool. We'll do the paperwork when you get back and when you're turning in brass. That way you have your stuff, you get it done. And in the Marine Corps, you had the Lance Corporal Mafia. Same thing. That's kind of how the SES was designed to work, so that you always have a cadre of people who know how to move within the system. But it got perverted, not the E4 Mafia, not the Lance Corporal Mafia. I'm not in now, so I can't tell you exactly what's going on now with those folks, because I'm not in that clique. But the SES got perverted. Instead of it being the grease to move through the blue tape, it's now the stumbling block to getting anything done.
Well, it's let me relate that to a law enforcement paradigm. The people that hold the true power in law enforcement, they're not the chief of police or the sheriff or whatever, titular head of the agency exists. The true power in any department exists with persons on two levels. Number one, the sergeant, and number two, the training officer, who sometimes happen to be one and the same.
Yep.
Because the training officer molds your future, and the sergeant decides what's acceptable in your current paradigm and your future paradigm. And if that sergeant accepts certain behavior, that molds your future.
Yep.
The sheriff doesn't hold the future. The sheriff is a blip in time. The chief of police doesn't hold the future. The chief is a blip in time.
Yep. It's fascinating that you elucidated that so well, because that is correct, and that's mentoring. That's mentoring, and see,
yes,
that's the whole thing. BZ and I this is like a normal conversation we both have all the time on this stuff. And the beauty of it is you guys just got this for free. This doesn't cost you a fucking thing. The people on my channel are getting true words that mean something. And the spiritual, I'm going to go into a little bit of spiritual learning on this. The spiritual learning, you can say, well, God, whatever we're talking about. But the reality is, it's also teaching right morals, mores, and ethics. A code of ethics. And that's something that we've lost in modernity. I'll let you take it from there, BZ.
You just led me down the golden path to probably the most fundamental question in the military and law enforcement and even corporate culture. I mean, this is foundational. And I know my answer. I'm curious about yours. Can leadership be taught, or is it inherent?
Okay. This is the question. I have delved into this. I had some videos I did on it, on leadership and on management.
Okay. All right. Perhaps stop right there. Let's make a distinct delineation,
there is a distinct
between leadership and management. Because in my opinion, leadership and management are two entirely separate topics.
They are.
Am I wrong?
No, you're not. You're exactly right. Leadership, management, totally separate. But the thing is, we all know natural leaders. Those are the people that they look good, they're Chad as fuck, they look bad as fuck, and all of a sudden they're a complete tosser. You and I both met these people. And but they're naturally, they got the good looks, they say the right things, their CV looks good.
Yep.
That's a natural leader. And that can be a problem. But sometimes there's a confluence where that natural leader, through good mentoring, now also has proper thought process, has proper judgment. In the Marine Corps, it's JJ did tie buckle. You guys can look it up. JJ did tie buckle. It's in a Marine Corps acronym, which stands for justice, judgment, dedication, integrity, discipline. I mean, it goes on and on. But these are the core beliefs and the things they instill in you in boot camp and still do. My son's in the Marine Corps. If all those core leadership traits are instilled with good ethics, mores, and morals, and look, everybody's, when they're young, is a fucking deviant. I don't care who they are. So you're always going to have some fucked up, stupid shit young people do. I get that. But it starts when you start, in how you build your life, how you do things. And, you know, and everybody's going to fail. Everybody's going to slip up. That's another thing. But the trick is when you slip, when you fall, how do you proceed? Does it destroy your life, or do you rebuild it better? Do you try to make a positive impact, or are you trying to make the world worse? And yourself. Do you dwell on the evil? Now, what a good leader understands all of this and can keep moving it forward and bringing it back to hill, bringing it back right. Management. Here's the difference. Anybody can manage. Not everybody can lead. Even a natural leader sometimes should not lead.
Here's how I distilled the two. And perhaps I'm being too simplistic, because I frequently can be. Leaders inspire people. Managers manage things.
No, that's not too simplistic. That's exactly the dichotomy of it. But a good leader can also manage things. See, that's the whole thing.
Yes,
it's all
but
built
a manager,
right?
But a manager does not inherently make a leader.
Exactly. You're exactly correct. And it's so nuanced. Here's how it is, man. You know who's a manager by how they do things. You know who's a leader by how they react to things, how they do things, and how they make things happen and inspire finally. That's the last part of it. Does he inspire you? A leader's naturally going to inspire you. But does he inspire you after you know all of his warts? And a good leader, you will know all of his warts. Shit, I have my bust from the Marine Corps framed because I learned more from getting busted down than I did from everything else that I was doing. And that's why I framed it. The framing was because here is a time where my head was big. I thought I was cock on the walk. And fucking, I overstepped. And I could have said, well, I'm a failure now. I got busted down. No, I fucking rebuilt and kept moving forward. That's the difference.
There are so many places we could go right now, but
well, let's go there.
Fill them in with verbiage, because I'm in the process of creating another drink.
Oh, I can go on that. This, folks, BZ has a normal show he does with the SHR Media Group, and it's a phenomenal podcast. You'll find me listening to it. I listen to several podcasts live, and I support them all. And what you're getting is a third hour with BZ, the man. The Bloviating Zeppelins, Bobcat. I can't even. Your title is so long, brother. I can't even remember it all. But it's an outstanding podcast on SHR Media. You'll find it. Just look up Bloviating Zeppelin. And it's inspiring. It's funny. It's irrelevant, or not irrelevant, irrelevant. Fuck, man, I can't even speak right now. And
irreverent.
Irreverent.
What you're looking for is the word irreverent.
That's what it is. Irreverent. Because
fuck, dude, I'm drunk, not you, okay?
I know, isn't it horrible? I told you, my colloquialisms and my pronunciation and shit always is fucked up. But, and add alcohol, it goes worse. But the thing we're communicating to you is, these are actual talks that me, him, Alan, several other people, Ryan Llewellyn, I've had him on. I've had Jim Fesser on. Michael Deacon, all these good people. And there's, yep, yeah, Bolt Gun watches BZ. Cool. So you know what's up, brother. And the funny thing is, man, you guys are getting like our real conversations unedited because we're live. This is live, folks. This goes out. All these words, I can't take them back. I can't take back my mispronunciations, nor do I want to. You know, the quirky, funny shit is the stuff that people should praise, because that's what you want, is reality. And that's why YouTube is kicking the shit out of the mainstream media, because they can see the plastic. There was a song out called Media Man by a band called Flash in the Pan in the 80s. And if you listen to that song, you will see exactly what the media focuses on. It's not about substance. It's about how you look and how you present. The English have the best way of calling news anchors. We call them reporters, because at one time they actually were reporters. They covered the who, what, where, when, why, and how, just like cops and intel guys. We all have to learn this shit, right? But now it's become all opinion being foisted on you as news, but slickly produced. Just enough, and trust me, it's CIA done. There's gentleman by the name of Jay Dyer from Jay's Analysis. And also I have to shout out the Boiler Room guys and gal. Spore, Hesher, Infidel Pharaoh, and why am I mind dumping his name, damn it? Oh shit, and he's one of my favorite characters when he's on. They all get together and do what me and BZ are doing right now. Just talking real. I mean, James Fetzer, the best chat I had was, he said, well, what do you want me to talk about? Which book? And I was like, we're just going to talk about military and stuff like that for an hour. Is that good? And he's like, yeah. And it was one of my best shows I've ever had. Because of that. The only more epic show, and I'm going to dig and find it. If I did record that, I'm going to repost that motherfucker, was me, you, and Alan. That was probably my premium show, because 5 epic hours of this is what you got. Is your drink fixed so I can shut my big hole?
Oh dude, I'm on number 4 right now. Thank you.
Awesome.
Let me ask you a question, and let me ask you let me pose this question to you and to anybody that is listening live and or is in chat and or who may be listening later in your podcast. You ever heard of John Boyd?
Yeah.
Okay. John Boyd was an Air Force pilot and a Pentagon consultant in from the 60s to 70s to 80s to 90s. And his theories were like way influential in the military, and it turned out to be in sports and like business and litigation. And he was an Air Force guy. Okay, let me stop here for a second. Weren't you in the Marines?
Yes, I was in the Army and Marines both. And the National Guard.
Okay. let me focus on the Marines for a second. Boyd was an Air Force guy. But the people who took the most out of what he said and what he wrote in terms of military strategy were the Marines.
Yeah.
The Marines more valued what John Boyd said and wrote than the United States Air Force because he bucked the Air Force.
Yeah, he's the creator of the OODA loop.
He is the creator of the OODA loop. That is exactly right. So what is the OODA loop? I remember this because this crap was kicked into my brain. OODA.
Yeah.
OODA loop. OODA. The first one is observation.
Observe.
It's the collection of data by means of the senses.
Right.
I'm not reading this. I'm doing this because I remember this because it was kicked into my brain housing group.
Yep. It was hammered in.
1, observation.
Yep.
The collection of data.
Yep.
Number 2, orientation.
Yep.
The analysis and synthesis of data from whatever you're experiencing.
Right.
The third one was decision.
Yep.
Determine on a course of action based on what you know.
Yep.
And action, the physical playing out of decisions.
Yep. And
that was primary.
Yeah. We even shortened it to an easier methodology. Orient, or observe, orient, decide, and act. And basically, what you said is the long form of it, but you observe. It's simple. This is not rocket science, folks. All of us do this. You observe what's going on in your reality. Your reality is the things you can control, not the things you can't control. It's in your direct area. Then all of a sudden you see a threat, so you orient. You orient to it. Okay? You've observed that threat. So you're now oriented to it. Now you're not taking a decision. Let me rephrase that. You're making a decision because you can't take a decision. It's a nonsense term that people always use. Take a decision. No, you or make a decision. You take a decision. Yeah. SMEAC is another Boyd one too, brother. You're right, Bolt Gun. But you decide what you're going to do, what course of action. And then you act. And that physical act has ramifications to them and to you. And this is the way you know a good mentor or leader. If they're telling you to do fucked up shit when you act, they're not a good leader and they're not a good mentor. You have to take that decision that makes everything better for you and for them. And if for them means they take a dirt nap and you hurt their feelings, but it makes the world safer, then ramifications be damned. Everybody has the rest of your life to look at any act that you've done to vilify you. But once you've taken that decision, it's big boy rules. You know you're the one responsible, nobody else.
He was a genius. He was a slovenly genius.
Yeah.
He was an arrogant genius, but he was still a genius that only was finally recognized by the Marines.
Yeah.
Under the auspices of the United States Air Force. He was the creator, basically, of the F-16. And the F-16 was a very specific, applied aircraft to fill a very specific need. And he had a term that I never... Folks, if you want... This is off the top of my head. There's a book by Stephen Coram, C-O-R-I-M, I'm sorry, C-O-R-A-M, Coram, called Boyd. And if you value military history, you need to read that book. Coram has written a whole bunch of other books about a whole bunch of other really cool, way cool military guys. But what he wrote in this book is, Boyd said that in terms of aircraft, they need to have a specific need and fill a niche. and they cannot be what he called gold-plated aircraft. And gold-plated aircraft to him are what we were seeing then and what we're seeing today. In other words, make a frame and make that one frame serve everyone. And that can't be true.
It can't
and that's
be.
Today's F-22, and that's today's F-35, and that's why those aircraft are predominantly pieces of crap, because you cannot make one singular airframe serve everyone's need. That just can't and won't happen. Because when you gold plate aircraft, they get bigger, they get heavier, they get clumsier and more expensive, and the programs just burgeon out with. The F-16 is light and fast and incredible, and every pilot that's ever flown it, loves it, just loves it.
Well,
that's Boyd.
It's an air superiority aircraft purpose-built for that purpose. From what you're saying, I'm going to show you an example of probably the worst thing that ever happened to aircraft, in my opinion. This is my 2 cents on it, okay? There was the A-1 Sky Raider, and that aircraft was a prop plane, but it could carry more bomb tonnage. It could carry, for a close air support weapon, than the A-6 Intruder, which replaced it. But it had jets, so the military wanted to have jets. Well, sometimes you need a platform that can stay on site and deliver the ordnance that you need and have the guns that you need for a squad or a unit. So you don't have to send up. That's right, it could carry its own weight and payload. It could stay on site for a longer time and be slow enough to be accurate with its guns. I got long stories on how the jets are with their little machine guns that they get added to for, Big Sandy, you're right, Bolt Gun.
Well, yeah, that's a World War II aircraft that went into Vietnam.
Yep.
Did you ever see a Sky Raider? I saw a Sky Raider, and I went into a Sky Raider. That's the largest single prop plane I've ever fucking seen in my entire life, secondary to the P-47 Thunderbolt. The P-47 Thunderbolt in World War II was a huge fucking single prop plane, and the A-1E Sky Raider was even bigger.
Yep.
And when you say a single designated, specifically designed aircraft, does that not scream to you, sir? Does that not scream to Bolt Gun and everybody here? Does that not scream to you, Warthog?
Yeah. Oh, the Warthog. Oh, give me a second. You fill this in because I got to run real quick. But I want you to tell them all the stuff about the Warthog, and I have some personal stories about Warthogs. But they're beautiful. Their design's epic. But I want you, because BZ's the technical guy on this shit, guys. All I can tell you is personal experience and seeing what the fuck they do. But I want BZ to give you all the technical stuff because he has this stuff hammered down. He is an air aficionado. And both that and the Sandy, if they were still in it, and yes, BZ, I did see Sandys when they were still out. They were. This is mid-'80s when I went into the Army, and the Air Force was getting rid of them. And unfortunately, I saw them when they were taking the remainders that they still had on bases and sending them out to mothball them. And it is a sight to behold. I saw them too in the Persian Gulf, Bolt Gun. I'll get into it, brother.
Question to everyone listening. What was the #1 mass-produced airframe ever? I'll give you 10 seconds to think about this. what was the number one mass-produced airframe from the U.S. military? And the answer would be the Huey. There you go. Bingo. The other question, not a question, but an observation is, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, I lived on base at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base because my dad was a bird colonel. And perhaps I'm crowing about this because I can. But in the late 60s, early 70s, when the XB-70 landed at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base to go into the Air Force Museum, and it was trucked across certain overpasses, across certain freeways. Because of its weight, it destroyed certain overpasses and was brought to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. But because I used to live on base at 444 E Street, when my dad was a bird colonel, and my dad got somehow on base, Wright-Patterson, 2-story with a basement, Air Force housing in the brick housing area, and surrounding us was nothing but generals. And I wish I could have asked my dad about this before he passed away, and I never did. But the Air Force Museum at Wright-Pat was in the process of being built, and because I visited that place so many times when I was a younger, shall we say, that the people that were there allowed me to get into certain cockpits. And one of the cockpits that I was able to get into was the XB-70. And as a kid, I'm really small, and you haven't seen small until you've tried to clamber into the XB-70 cockpit. I got to sit at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base off hours into the XB-70 cockpit. And that was a stellar moment that I will never, ever forget.
That is epic, brother. Epic.
And the thing that's there now, the skin of the XB-70 is delaminating.
Yeah.
But I mean, when they designed the XB-70, they had to not only create, it's the precursor of the SR-71.
The Valkyrie.
They not only had to design the aircraft to encounter those Machs and the 6 engines, whereas the SR-71 only had 2, but they had to create an entirely separate fuel system to acceptably fuel the XB-70. I mean, the stuff that the military could get away with then as opposed to now, and the staggering amounts of money that the military spent for 2 prototypes of the B-70 is amazing to this day.
It's staggering.
And then everybody remembers the collision that occurred with, I think it was the F-104 Starfighter and the XB-70, and a number of people plummeted to their deaths in that.
Right.
But the number one XB-70 is still at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
Yes, it is. And Bolt Gun said the XB-70's back is broken from settling. You can see the buckling down her sides, too. It's true. Yeah, he's right. It was an F-4 Phantom that hit it. Yeah, no, I remember that. Let me think. Did you touch on, because I stepped away, did you touch on the daggone A-10?
No, not yet.
Okay, cool.
But there is hope, because the Air Force, due to complaints, did not completely abandon the A-10 and the A-10 program. Thank God.
You're exactly right. They did not. they were still flying when I was there this last time. And that thing is a workhorse. You said Huey. I didn't leave before you said that. The interesting thing is the equivalent to the Huey, because the guys who worked for MAG, it's been enough time that I'll just say I was working with Special Missions Wing when I went back over there. And so the MAG guys I talked to while I was over there, they were loving the Mi-17s because they have the same fill, the same, even though they're mass produced, everyone's individual. They have different pipings and things that they do, and only a skilled mechanic can keep those in the air. So we had to use Ukrainians to teach the Afghans the individual idiosyncrasies of each aircraft, and mentoring was real with these folks. So, you know, they were teaching me. Anyways, I don't want to get into everything, but prop planes were big over there, and for the Afghan military. And the other thing that I'll tell you that's interesting to me, I think the military should bring back the A-10 or the A-1. I'm sorry, Skyraider, and the A-10 needs to keep flying because with its role, while can you imagine how the lethality of a prop plane that can stay there, drop its bombs, and give accurate fire, combined with a plane, the A-10, that was built around its guns and for survivability. The jets that it has actually are spread out on each side so that if they take a hit to one jet, the other jet can get the guy home. They are made for safety.
The A-10, whoever designed the A-10, and I couldn't tell you who, is a fucking genius. It was designed for ease of maintenance. It was designed for ease of applicability. I don't know of any pilot who ever flew an A-10 and said that they didn't love that aircraft. It has a tub that protects the pilot specifically. It fires depleted uranium rounds, which are incredibly penetrating rounds. Does anybody remember what the fuck? Maybe you help me out here. The Iraqi Highway of Death.
I do. I remember it. And that was where I was going to go, but I wanted you to handle all the stuff. Bolt Gun just says it's got triple hydraulics for each flight service, and I've heard that too. Each flight surface. Let me rephrase that because I said service. I have no idea why I did it. But anyways, yeah, no, man. Getting to the technical portions, and I'll tell you what it looked like because I went down the highway of death.
I mean, because that is a brilliant plane. And here's another thing. Here is American genius. American genius. What's still flying after 52 years? The B-52. The B-52 it had its original plans designed and laid down by people in short sleeve shirts, white short sleeve shirts with ties and pocket protectors in 1948.
Yep.
The B-52 was created initially in 1948 with a tandem cockpit.
Yep.
The B-52 still flies fucking today, and they expect that the B-52 will fly for another 20 years.
The B-52s...
Can you name for me any military system that has that amount of legacy? That's incredible.
The Russians have one that's slightly younger, but think about this. We're now in...
That's the Tupolev Bear.
Yeah.
With the counter-rotating props.
Yep, and it's a beautiful aircraft. I've seen them. Anyways, I've actually seen these things in reality. That's what's so wild about my life. these things that I saw in Jane's books, I actually was able to see in real life, IRL. Here's the thing about it. You think about the B-52, 49, I'm sorry, when it was designed. What was it fielded in, like 52, 51? Somewhere around there?
Yeah, it was designed to lay down in 48, and they actually didn't get anything really going until the late 50s, early 60s. But see, that was the brilliance of the Air Force, because that was also the beginning and the instigation of General LeMay.
Yeah, General Curtis LeMay.
He created SAC.
Yeah, he did. Strategic Air Command. And the beauty of the B-52, I've also been in the first Gulf War. I've heard the bombing because we were in Ras Al Jabal, and that's like 100 kilometers, I think, from the Kuwaiti border, if I remember right. I'm trying to remember exactly, but I may be off slightly. But it sounded like distant thunder. That's all I can say is what it sounded like. Yeah, the SR-71 was at Kadena. I was on, what was that base? It was Camp Kinzer, right before you got to Naha. We were the last Marine Corps base in the next, and we were right next to Naha, just about, on Okinawa. So I know exactly. I've been to Kadena. Kadena was still flying it. I was there from 91 to 92, and you knew when the SR-71 took off. You could hear the sonic booms. But anyway, so the distant thunder is what the B-52's bombings, this is how expansive it was to soften up the Iraqis, was constant, and it sounded like distant thunder. And oh, you have it on audio tape. Wow, so you could hear it too, Bolt Gun. So Bolt Gun might have chewed some ground near me. So anyways, once we went in, the A-10s went to work, because the Iraqis all of a sudden decided to move their forces en masse, their logistical tail, and that's the highway of death. And the A-10s, there's a lot of stories I could tell you about the carnage. I saw what they wrought. But they were very effective. You know, the thing that struck me, BZ, I'm going to be honest, my first taste of war was at the Gulf War. And it wasn't the loss of man. That didn't really bother me at all. Because I just looked at them as, after I saw my first one, I was like, it's a cow, right? But the thing that struck me most was the amount of material that was destroyed and the effects of it. And I just saw how a machine can get broken, a war machine. And we were very efficient at breaking their war machine. And anyways, that's my 2 cents. But I still am a proponent for the A1 coming back, the Sky Raider, maybe update it, and for ground, purpose-built aircraft, and also keeping the A-10 flying. Those two airframes need to fly until they find something that can do it better, faster, but also be able to slow down to a crawl. The Harrier, the only platform that could replace the Harrier is the F-35B, which is what the military uses for its Vistol purposes. It is a better aircraft in Vistol and for close air support, just like the Harrier was designed. But it's not a, they keep saying it's a built to also be an air superiority fighter and a stealth fighter. It's got aspects to all that, but in my opinion, I think it is an upgrade to the Harrier, but that's it. I think it should move the. It should only be for that. You know what I mean? Yeah, he said, Bolt Gun said it just like I did. He couldn't believe the tens of thousands of brand new automobiles burn up at ports and airliners, blown to shit. And he's not fucking around. That was a beautiful, in a weird way. When I say that, there's a certain sex appeal to war that only those who have been in it understand. You can't take the sex out of an M1 Abrams or a M60 tank. You can't take the sex out of an aircraft. You can't take the sex out of a Hummer, you know, and jocking up with your gear and getting out there and doing it. It's the kind of, it's man world. It's the one time when man world's real. And I don't know. I'm just fucking ranting, BZ. You can cover me.
Let me give you a college question. And you have your notes and your papers ready to write down. And the question is this: give me the similarities between George Smith Patton and Arnold Schwarzkopf.
Well, I never met Patton, but I did meet General Schwarzkopf 2 times. I helped bodyguard him when he was in Ras Al Jabal, and he visited the hospital that I had to go to because I had epididymitis. If people don't know what that is, it's from my time in the Army. My last tour of duty was on Naval Air Station Adak, Alaska. And yeah, Naval Air Station, and I was in the Army. That's a fact. I was on an Army detachment. Anyways,
my brother was up in Alaska. He was an engineer maintaining BMUs at the time.
Cool.
Anybody remember what BMUs was?
Can't think of it.
That was in the 60s. BMEWS, Ballistic Missile Early Warning System.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I know what you're talking about. That's when I was in the 80s, we called it the DO line and the U line. Yeah.
Right. But what was the similarity between George Smith Patton and Arnold Schwarzkopf?
I don't know. That's why I said I don't know where you're going with it. Otherwise, I might understand.
Okay. What did George Smith Patton advocate?
He advocated total war. You beat the enemy until they subjugate.
What people don't remember is that George Smith Patton was put in charge of renovating Germany after World War II. Because, who was the fucking 5-star that hated him? I can't think of it, the guy's name. But he belittled Patton. No. Oh, shit. I can't think of the guy's name. Anyway, there have only been 5 stars in the history of the U.S. He was one of them. He was played by fuck me. I can remember this because he was played by Carl Malden in the movie Patton. Ah, Jesus. Anyway, Patton said that he began, because he was placed in charge of the renovation of Germany, he said essentially what we should have done is taken the Germans and run on into Russia.
Correct.
And he was prescient in that.
Correct.
He was absolutely correct. And what did Schwarzkopf say? Schwarzkopf said under Bush that we don't stop here. We should roll right into the heart of the Middle East and crush it.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right.
Patton was correct.
And so was Schwarzkopf.
Patton was correct, and Schwarzkopf was correct.
Yeah.
And we stopped.
Yeah, you're right. Well, we stopped politically. Yeah, look, all that we're doing now is because we didn't do it then. I went back, like I said, like Smedley Butler said, I was a strong-arm man. It wasn't for the fruit companies. It was for American companies that, needed to feed the war machine. And That's all I was. I was nothing special, nothing. I was just a cog in the wheel. But I also afterwards was able to go to. I remember. I don't want to get into all that, but I had a great sense that I had to do something again, and I didn't know when, but the time came after 9/11, and I found myself. That's why I'm going to be 50. I'm not. I'm going to be. I am 50 today. I've spent a quarter of my life in the Near East. It's fucking amazing to me that I didn't read about history. I fucking lived it and made it. And so the House of Chef stands. And my progeny will continue with that.
As well it should.
Exactly, BZ. Isn't it fascinating, the turn of conversations that we have? It just amazes me.
I think it's grand. It's grand.
I do too.
I like talking to you because you provide the military aspect of the U.S. And that's what I value you for. Jesus. I should have been in the Vietnam War, but I wasn't.
Right.
And I never really questioned that until later, many, many years later. I mean, I'm kind of like older than I should have been in Vietnam.
Right.
But I never, I got sent my, I got sent my number, but then I was never called.
Right.
And my selective service number was like, fuck, dude, I was in the single digits. And I was thinking, I'm going to hold a Mattel gun, and that's where I'm going.
Yep.
And nothing ever happened. I went to college, nothing ever happened. I got a couple of jobs, nothing ever happened. I went into law enforcement, nothing ever happened.
Right.
And I thought, okay, so I'm here to serve, but apparently I'm not here to serve that. I'm here to serve this.
Yeah.
So I served 41 years in law enforcement.
Awesome.
But here's the weird ass thing that I only sussed out like maybe 15, 16, 17 years ago.
Right.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, when I was in Ohio.
Yeah.
And by the way, I was in Ohio when I was 18.
Mm-hmm.
You ever hear of Kettering?
Yeah, Kettering, Ohio. I know right where it is.
Okay. I used to live in Kettering before we moved to on base Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
Right.
But I lived in Kettering in the 60s.
Yep.
And one funny thing happened.
Mm-hmm.
There was not a hurricane, but oh gosh,
tornado.
Yes, thank you. Tornado.
And I know where you're going with this. Yeah.
In Chillicothe, Ohio.
Yeah.
At that time.
Yeah.
And in Chillicothe, all the selective service records were held there.
Right.
And they were all paper.
Right.
And the tornado tore all of that stuff up.
Right.
And whatever was supposed to happen to me in the 60s never happened because of that tornado.
You got blown away.
Completely to the winds.
And that's, look, everybody's life is by design. I'm a firm believer in this. I posted a meme on this a couple days ago, and I will bring it right up for you folks and tell you exactly what it is here in about 5 seconds. Give me, where you at? 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 here it is. The All-Father wove the skein of your life a long time ago. Go and hide in a hole if you wish, but you won't live 1 second longer. Your fate is fixed. Fear profits a man nothing. And that is my bailiwick. I lived that credo. And so does the House of Shuff. Look, here's the interesting thing out of everything we've talked about tonight. Is just awesome. Damn, you're probably close to me, Bolt Gun. That's all I'll say. We're probably neighbors. Fuck. Anyways, the thing that I'll say that blows me away with this conversation is it's so real. You ready to laugh your dick off there, BZ?
I'm ready.
Okay, brother. I was 17 when I joined the Army. And the funniest shit happened to me. I get called in to go see the captain, and I'm like, what the hell do I gotta go see the company commander for? You know, I haven't done nothing. What the fuck? And company commander goes, I think I was a PFC at that time, an E3. He goes, I turned 18, and he goes, PFC Shuff. I'm like, yeah, Captain Mercer. You know, yes, sir. And he goes, you have to sign and fill out this piece of paper for selective service. And I looked at him queerly, and I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, you have to fill out your paper for selective service, man. Or, you know, PFC. And I'm like, why? I've already committed to the military, the Army. Why would I have to fill this out? He goes, because you've turned 18. And I'm like, sir, I'm sorry, but this doesn't make sense. Are you saying you don't believe that I committed to serve in the U.S. Army and I have to be able to be drafted into it when I'm already in it? This makes no sense. And he goes, well, you have to do it. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, I don't want to do it because that would be like me saying I'm not committed. He goes, PFC Shuff, I understand your feelings. I understand what you're saying. He said, but it's the law and you have to do it. And I said, but what sense does it make? And he goes, I'm now giving you an order. You will fill this out right now, or you're violating a lawful order. And I filled it out. But Bolt Gun has it right. Typical use of government resources. I still will. That's the one thing. If you're going to be serious about your honor, and you're going to be serious about your commitment, then that's almost, for people who are serving, that's almost a slap in your face, or it should be. Let me rephrase that. As a right-thinking person, that should be a slap in your face, saying, hey, yeah, you committed, but whatever, you know, you got to sign this just in case. Yeah. It's nonsensical. So, there you go, BZ. So, there's a little funny story about selective service for me, who was serving at the time.
Can I give you some deep state stuff?
Sure. Jump on it.
Can I wrap this broadcast up with some deep state stuff?
Always. You're welcome to say whatever you want. You know that, brother.
Can I talk to you about Lisa Barsumian?
Throw her out.
Nobody's heard of her. Have you?
Yep.
And the answer is no, you haven't. Who is Lisa Barsumian? Barsoomian. Let's learn a little about Lisa H. Barsoomian's background. She's an attorney who graduated from Georgetown Law, and she's a protege of James Comey and Robert Mueller.
Yep.
Barsoomian, who, with her boss, R. Craig Lawrence, represented Bill Clinton back in 1998. Well, R. Craig Lawrence back in the day, represented, Robert Mueller 3 times, James Comey 5 times, Barack Obama 45 times, Kathleen Sebelius 56 times, Bill Clinton 40 times, and Hillary Clinton 17 times. Between 1998 and 2017, Lisa Barsoomian herself represented the FBI at least 5 times. So, maybe people who are listening to this, you're saying to yourself, so what? Who cares? Who cares about the work history of somebody named Lisa Barsoomian? Because apparently someone does. Because someone out there cares so much that they have managed to purge all the Lisa Barsoomian court documents for her Clinton representation in Hamburg versus Clinton in 1998, and its appeal in 1999 from the D.C. District of Appeals dockets. Someone out there cares so much that even the internet has been purged of all information relating to Lisa Barsoomian. So, who is Lisa Barsoomian? And why does she merit any attention whatsoever here? Oh, that's right. She's Assistant Attorney General Rod Rosenstein's wife.
Kind of funny, isn't it?
Yeah. And with that, I will take my 7th drink leave.
No problem, brother. We had an awesome time. And hopefully you couldn't hear me staggering around. I wasn't staggering, but let's hope.
No. The staggering was on my part.
Oh, okay.
I was a staggering motherfucker.
That's all right. Next time, have some filthy olives to eat while you do it. It tends to level it out. I'll tell you what, man. This has been an awesome podcast, and we were only going to do this for an hour, folks. So you guys got an extra special treat of 2 hours and 7 minutes. And did you know we went that long, brother?
Yes, I did. 2 hours. Yes.
It's amazing. And what you got was a real conversation between 2 real people. And normal joking. And serious talk. And hopefully, maybe you learned something. Maybe you didn't. But this is kind of what we do. And with that, I say, I am glad you all took a seat on my big orange couch. You opened up whatever libations. You were able to sit around, maybe think about things yourself, remember things in a positive way, never a negative way, and realize that there's more of us that believe not the same. None of us believe everything the same. But we have enough commonality that we are always, there will always be a voice no matter what they do. And BZ filling you in on her, there is never a coincidence with the deep state. Don't ever think that. That's not a reality. There's no coincidences. That's another motto of mine. My major motto, my personal motto, not the family motto. The family motto is, we will stand. But my personal motto always has been, if you look, you will find. And with that, I'll say thank you for stopping by Kaisers Kastle. BZ and I have had an awesome time, and when I end the stream, it's with sad heart, because I know me and BZ will talk again, but not all of our talks get captured, and this one is for the record books. So, hey BZ, I love you, man. You're one of the best men I've met in my life.
Thank you, sir. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. With that being said, good night, God bless, and I'm glad we were able to help you through this beautiful November 9th night as I turn 50. God bless, be well, be safe. Shuff out.